There is only one thing worse than
not getting a solo.
Boom.
Rosé.
No.
Rosé's solo debut is one of the most anticipated K-pop moments of 2021, with almost 2.5 years of anticipation and preparation, and a very tight-lipped hold on the release from both the company and Rosé herself. Finally, it's here. I don't think it's super necessary for me to rehash all of the YG problems, the broken promises and the audience bait, and how when you look at the track list, it seems we got one song for every year this album was delayed. I want to focus on Rosé's music, so let's just leave it with YG is a bad company. Rosé has a specific musical mythos within Blackpink, acoustics and indie vocals. Her musical motif in Blackpink is the acoustic guitar. The Blackpink image has specified Rosé as a singer-songwriter type, the main vocalist who carries a lot of cerebral and emotional appeal, while also staying down-to-earth and personable. Starting with Gone, the more atmospheric track and the one first teased for Rosé's debut. Gone is based around those mythologies. Gone focuses on two acoustic-prominent singer-songwriter genres, indie pop and folk. I personally like the use of muffled guitar and the fairy echoes. Being almost purely guitar plucks and cloud-like vocals, Gone is very spatial, with rainy strums and soulful singing, a song that plays in a low-light club or as the slow dance at senior prom. The instrumentation plays muted through the wall while Rosé sings in the room. Rosé's trill in Gone is the centerpiece of the song, and her tangy, candied voice supports the majority of the melodies and rhythms. I love the flatter, almost annoyed tone to her delivery in the first verse, before she really hits her emotional flutter in the chorus. The song is mostly a cycle of the same few riffs, but Rosé's own interpretation of the song vocally is extremely pleasing to listen to, caught between moody and wearied.
I just wanna be the one, but to you are already done. Tell me why'd you have to hit and run me? Now I'm all alone crying ugly.
Gone, for being a breakup song, is catchy, and it holds its own weight through a simple but memorable melody. Rosé can really portray a sense of doom and bone-tired heartbreak through nothing but her voice. I appreciate that the nectar in her voice never gets soggy, but rather stormy, and the guitar provides a satisfying campfire sound that indie and folk are known for. I found the vocal performance by Rosé to be Gone's biggest strength, and the songwriting to be its biggest weakness. I don't think that the aw yeahs at the beginning enhance the song, but rather interrupt the lyrics and stall the song.
Gave you all I mean, now you don't wanna be on road, oh yeah, yeah. I really gotta face it, oh yeah, yeah.
I'm confused about their presence musically and their impact on the verses as a whole, the inability to properly sustain patterns or rhythms within the lyrics. The producers chose one acoustic guitar, two acoustic riffs, very simple instrumentation. There's really not a lot to listen to in Gone, and that's fine, that's what a lot of folk is. There's a tendency not to overwhelm because the songs have something to say.
Come on, skinny love, just let's sing it. Pour a little salt we will never eat. My, my, with her sweet and brave and her tongue so mean. She's the danger of small death and the dog being seen with her straw blonde hair, her on hard and lean. She's the danger of small death and the dog being seen.
The lyrics of Gone lack necessary substance. Lines like, "Why'd you have to hit and run me? You broke my heart just for fun," mean one night stand with a player. But 8 in the morning, hate in the morning means the habitual mornings together of a long-term couple, and her having to get used to that absence when she wakes up. Some of the lines are obvious references to cheating, while others imply that the new girlfriend is someone she's never even heard of before. I would have liked more lines like, "You had to be the one to color me blue, I'll put a curse on her and you," instead of lines like, "You took my love and left me numb," or "I thought that you'd remember but it seems that you forgot." I wanted to know what about Rosé's breakup made it so painful to deserve a song. Did he forget her birthday? Did he forget his jacket at her apartment when he left? Or did he forget her face already? Those are all different kinds of heartbreak. She says she's tired of always waiting, but doesn't tell us for what exactly. For him to call? For him to pick up? For him to hang up? Heartbreak is personal. I wanted the places in the lyrics where it felt that Rosé, the artist, had been through true heartbreak. To be clear, it's not because the lyrics are in English that they're unsuccessful. They're unsuccessful because they're generic. This is not indicative of Rosé being a bad writer. I've said before that Junghyun's first couple of solo songs were basically lists of generic feelings and situations, but the team of seasoned writers credited on this track takes away some of that default and raises expectations. And there are moments in the writing that I really like. I love the lines that figuratively play with color, since emotion and color is something I naturally associate with Rosé, and I'd love to see that as a really developed motif in the future. Let's talk about those two genres they chose to focus on with her musical mythos. Indie and folk are storytelling genres, so the one thing you can't skimp is the words.
Weep for yourself, my man, you'll never be what is in your heart. Weep, little lion man, you're not as brave as you were at the start.
For example, in Gone, I want to know how hard it is to eat or to sleep. I want to know what he did to her that caused the breakup. I want to know why she's hurt. A heartfelt heartbreak song, that's kind of the one place where you can't skimp the meat. Descriptions of what the two of them went through in their relationships, or anecdote about her view on love and her experiences with it, like what we hear in The Only Exception.
When I was younger, I saw my daddy cry and curse at the wind. He broke his own heart and I watched as he tried to reassemble it.
Or instead, emotionally driven lines that use creative language to portray the depth of pain without having to describe a specific situation, like in With or Without You.
Sleight of hand and twist of fate. On a bed of nails she makes me wait. And I wait without you. With or without you. With or without you.
Instead of little aw yeahs every line or so, there's so much space to lyrically forge a personal connection with the audience. As the song stands, I don't quite believe the speaker's words the way I believe her voice. However, where the writing doesn't work, Rosé's performance absolutely does. Her delivery helps eclipse the holes in the songwriting, and she vocally owns the song as her art. Her vocals in Gone are some of her strongest, and Gone becomes art purely through the way Rosé sings. I love the way her voice opens up in the second verse, and the round, full sound of her voice comes through.
All my love is gone and the hate is gone, standing all alone, and I'm searching for something, but I can't feel nothing. I pack my bags and go, this don't feel like home, too much like this for a rainbow. I feel so used, how am I supposed to live without you? I refuse, yeah.
This is a song that is meant to be heard live, which is where the folk and indie inspirations absolutely succeed. The pain in her voice and the sting in her delivery are meant to be passed around a campfire or lamented from the back wall of a tavern. I think having a pure guitar accompaniment opens up a lot of interesting onstage options. For one, I can't wait to see a performance where Rosé plays the song herself, which I'm sure we're going to get at some point. But what I'd really love is a performance where Rosé sings and Jenny plays the guitar. I think that would be extremely heartwarming and really, really cute. He broke my heart, but it's my best friend who supports me through the pain. In this element, the idea of Gone is fully successful. Gone is Rosé's art straight from inside her body.
Everything I need is on the ground. On the ground. Everything I need is on the ground. You walk over, come down. You're running out of time.
This is going to sound contradictory to what I've said on this channel, but I think On the Ground was probably the right choice for the A track. The choices are between a song that is a solid B in most categories and a song that is an A+ in vocals but lacks lyrical substance. On the Ground has more complete songwriting, and it feels like it has more drafts behind it.
I worked my whole life just to get right, just to be like, look at me, I'm never coming down.
Know the day bleeds into nightfall, and you're not here to get me through it all.
Rosé's internal battle between ambition and foundation, achievement and perspective is written very genuinely. While some lines feel eked out, her own cynical derision of her life versus the fairy tale people see comes off as much more believable.
Funny when you want it, suddenly you have it. You find out that your goal's just plastic. Every day, every night, I've been thinking back on you and I.
The details of her feelings and her memories are more fleshed out and connected. Lines like, "I used to have a hole in the wall with a mattress," and "I worked my whole life just to be like, look at me, I'm never coming down."
I'm way up in the clouds, and they say I made it now, but I figured it out. Everything I need is on the ground.
Her frustration is really palpable in the writing, and her voice works in tandem to add to her struggle. Rosé's own fears and realizations feel genuine.
Everything I need is on the ground. They need me though. You won't go down, must go down. They need me though. You want me now.
On the Ground has strong electropop sounds, but also maintains the indie pop box that this debut aims for. Musically, On the Ground sounds like it was designed to be immediately likable or digestible, and I think its biggest mistake is this empty chorus when Rosé's best power is her voice. It doesn't have a Blackpink EDM core or an extreme drop, but Rosé's stress and vocal twinge provides sound from her we haven't heard, which serves to remind me that I would have loved a vocal-centric chorus from this main track. She is the main vocalist, after all.
Everything I need is on the, everything I need is on the ground.
Once a year I'll see them for a week or so at most. I take a walk, take a walk, take a walk, take a walk.
I'm gonna stay the night. Doesn't mean we're bound for life. So, why you gonna stay the night? My life's been magic, seems fantastic. I used to have a hole in the wall with a mattress.
All I need's a little love in my life. All I need's a little love in the dark. A little, but I'm hoping it might kickstart.
On the Ground is unfortunately tailored to the early 2010s, and it's getting a little tiresome to never hear a song from Blackpink that sounds like the current music scene, instead of just something outdated. I actually loved this music video, the relationship between Rosé and Rosanne. Rosé coming back down to earth and revisiting her old self and rediscovering how much she loves and depends on herself. Overall, if you asked me, plain and simple, do I like it? The answer would be yes, I like it. There are parts where the genre choices and the ideas didn't fully pay off in execution, but for a debut it works, and Rosé's voice is stunning. Rosé's music as a solo artist is not overburdened with walls of sound or little bells and whistles that distract from the emotional truth that Rosé is aiming for. When I think Rosé, I think sweet acoustics, a defined vocal color, and a heart full of passion, and that's what these songs deliver musically. In the future, I'd like to hear music that pushes the default of what I already know Rosé can do. I'd love to see a multitude of personas, emotional truths, and a commitment to lyricism. I think this debut advertises Rosé as an artist driven emotionally and cerebrally. It continues her musical connection to guitar and indie pop, as well as adding some elements of fairy pop or soft folk that would otherwise be cut from a Blackpink single. These two songs prioritize vocal emotion at their core, and if they didn't fully bring new style to the table, they remind the audience of why we fell in love with Rosé in the first place. And finally, this debut is important for more than just those reasons. The gradual expansion of Blackpink's creative freedom is what makes this debut so exciting. We're seeing Jennie and Jisoo write for a lead single. Lisa's been exploring dance film like crazy, seemingly without any other reason than she just wants to.
Just drove by your house, so far from you now, but I figured it out. Everything I need is on, everything I need is on the ground.
This debut signals that the winter over Blackpink is finally breaking. After all, the rose is the flower that blooms just before spring.